Hey Monarchs, this is Ms. Hayes, and today we are going to talk about how to write the 11-sentence critical analysis paragraph. In other words, how to make your sentences work together to create a cohesive paragraph. Your essential question for today is, how does the organization of my paragraphs help or hurt my writing? Please copy this down into the essential question section of your Cornell notes. So the most important thing to remember about the 11-sentence critical analysis paragraph is that every sentence serves a specific purpose. And there are 5 roles that these sentences can fulfill. The first one is that you have to have a topic sentence. You have supporting claim sentences. You have textual evidence sentences, explanation sentences, and concluding sentences. Now, the supporting claim, textual evidence, and explanation sentences all work together to create something that we call a chunk. And there are 3 chunks in one 11-sentence paragraph. So the topic sentence tells your reader what the paragraph is going to be about. If you are having trouble writing a topic sentence, just try answering the prompt using one sentence. So your supporting claims introduce an idea that supports the topic sentence. Usually they identify a reason your topic sentence is a true statement or a valid opinion. And then your textual evidence sentences use the 3-step process for embedding evidence to back up your claims with evidence from reliable resources. These should also end with parenthetical citations. And then the explanation sentences. Because your reader might have a different perspective on the evidence than you do, you're going to need to explain how the evidence backs up your supporting claim and your topic sentence. And this is part of the 3-step process for embedding evidence as well. So it's very important that you have explanation, otherwise your reader might not get your point. And then your concluding sentence is the last sentence in your paragraph, and it can do one of 2 things. It can end the sentence, right? If you're writing a standalone paragraph, the concluding sentence should paraphrase the topic sentence. So it should use different words to describe the topic sentence and to connect your claims to a bigger idea. And your concluding sentence can also transition to the next paragraph if you're writing a multi-paragraph essay. So how do these sentences work together to create an 11-sentence critical analysis paragraph? Well, first I have my topic sentence. Then I have a chunk. So there's my first chunk, I have my second chunk, and my third chunk. And all of my chunks contain a supporting claim, a textual analysis sentence, and an explanation sentence. So if you notice, I have 11 different blocks all stacked to make an 11-sentence paragraph. That's because each one of these blocks counts as one sentence. So the supporting claims introduce a reason that supports the main claim in the topic sentence, and every 11-sentence paragraph should have 3 supporting claims, in other words, 3 reasons that support the topic sentence. And then these supporting claims each immediately lead into your textual evidence and explanation sentences. So to write these 2 sentences, you're going to refer back to that 3-step process for embedding evidence into your writing. So first, you're going to introduce the author, title, and if necessary, you're going to give additional information about the author. Then you're going to use a verb to lead into the quotes or paraphrase, and you're going to use quotation marks if you're quoting, no quotation marks if you're paraphrasing, to indicate a direct quote and to end your quote with a parenthetical citation. And then finally, for your explanation, you're going to comment on how the evidence helps to support your supporting claim and your topic sentence. And you make sure that you refer back to the quote in your explanation. So steps 1 and 2 create your textual evidence sentence, and then step 3 creates your explanation sentence. If you weren't sure how to include textual evidence in your writing, or if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about when I refer to the 3-step process, here is the 3-step process. So please make sure you copy this into your notes. And then we have our topic and concluding sentences. So our topic sentence comes first, of course, and our concluding sentence comes last. But these 2 sentences work together to frame our paragraph. And they both state the topic, but they do so using different words. So the topic sentence introduces the topic, it introduces our claim, while the concluding sentence wraps it up. So remember, your concluding sentence can also help to transition to another sentence. So let's take a look at this sample paragraph. And as we read it, we're going to identify the purpose of each sentence. So in the novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, Mr. Arthur Boo Radley is a truly kind and compassionate person who should not be discriminated against by the prejudiced people of Maycomb. So that is our topic sentence. It introduces our claim, which is that this character is actually a nice person and that he shouldn't be discriminated against. So let's keep reading. During the story, Boo wants to make a connection with Scout and Jem, and he shows his kindness toward them by mending Jem's pants after they were torn on the fence and by wrapping a blanket around Scout's shoulders when Miss Maudie's house was burning. So that is our first supporting claim. That claim tells us that Boo Radley is a kind and compassionate person. It's showing us by coming up with some specific examples. But we don't have any textual evidence. We don't have any quotes. As Jem confesses to Atticus after the fire, I swear to God, he ain't ever harmed us. He ain't ever hurt us. He couldn't have cut my throat from ear to ear that night, but he tried to mend my pants instead. This is our actual evidence. The author of this paragraph introduced this quote by saying, as Jem confessed to Atticus after the fire. Now, because we've already identified that we're writing about To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, we don't need to refer to the author and the title of the text to introduce this quote, because we've already done that in this paragraph. But we still need to introduce it, and we did that by saying, as Jem confesses to Atticus after the fire. So let's keep reading. Even though Boo is still a mystery to the children, they are beginning to realize that the stories told about him are not quite true. So this sentence is an explanation sentence, and it is an explanation because it connects the dots for the reader. It proves to us, it says, hey, here's what you should think about that quote that I just gave you. And what you should think about that is that Boo really is a much nicer person. The kids realized that he wasn't doing anything to hurt them, that he was being kind and compassionate. So let's keep reading. Furthermore, Boo shows his interest in others by leaving presents for the children in the old tree. So this is another supporting claim. This is another reason he is a compassionate person. Jem and Scout had found the following items in the tree: 2 soap carvings, gray twine, chewing gum, and a tarnished medal, a watch, and an old knife. So here we have another piece of textual evidence. And in this case, the author of this paragraph, they still introduced the evidence with Jem and Scout had found the following items in the tree, but then instead of quoting like the entire paragraph where they found those items, they just listed them. Now, these items are in quotation marks because the items themselves are quotes. So they stacked quotes on top of each other, kind of like using a list, and that works. You could totally do that for your textual evidence. Jem was so delighted by the idea that Boo was trying to communicate with them that he cried when Mr. Nathan filled the tree hole with cement. So this is another explanation. They're showing us, again, that by finding these items in our textual evidence, they learned that Boo Radley is a kind and compassionate person. And they were upset when another character put a stop to these gifts that Boo Radley was anonymously giving the kids. Scout was also fascinated by Boo's kindness when she realized that he had saved Jem and her from Bob Ewell. So this is another supporting claim. Now we have 3 chunks in an 11-sentence paragraph. This is our third supporting claim, so this is the beginning of our third chunk. Before this incident, she had been terrified by the idea of Boo, but once she realizes what Boo is really like, she says that telling people about Boo's role in Mr. Ewell's death would be sort of like shooting a mockingbird. So here we have another piece of textual evidence, and we know that because we have a quote, right, sort of like shooting a mockingbird. And here we are providing proof that Scout is fascinated by Boo's kindness, and this third reason and proof shows that overall Boo Radley is a truly kind and compassionate person. Let's see what the explanation is. Scout has finally learned the lesson that one must consider another's perspective in order to understand him. So in this case, our author just explained what happened in this final quote. And by doing that has proven that Boo Radley is a truly kind and compassionate person. So that's our last evidence sentence. And let's see how they wrap it up with the concluding sentence. It is truly heartbreaking that Boo is made out to be immoral and incorrect, as he was actually one of the most big-hearted and philanthropic people in Maycomb. So this sentence is restating our topic, which is that he's a nice person, right? We're just using different words. And we are also looking at it from a different perspective. In the topic sentence, we say that he's a truly kind and compassionate person, whereas in the concluding sentence, we say that it is sad that he was not seen as being a nice person. So we said the same thing, but we said it using different words to make sure that we really drove the point home to our reader. And that's all I have for you for today. Please take a moment to chunk your notes. I also need you to write possible test questions in the question section of your notes. Make sure you have summarized your notes by answering the essential question. And please make sure you go back and highlight the main ideas of your notes so that you always understand how to write an 11-sentence paragraph. If you have any questions, you can email me at kelly.hayes@aps.edu, or you can check out my website at misshayes.org, and I will see you tomorrow.